This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. If you are building with AI coding tools, but your features keep breaking, you need to check out BrainGrid. It is the product management agent for AI builders. BrainGrid turns messy ideas into clear specs, tasks, and prompts that coding agents like Cursor and Claude can actually build the right way. Ship real software, not fragile prototypes. Start free at braingrid.ai. This episode is sponsored by Alcor. Global hiring for engineering teams can be a nightmare. Too many providers, hidden fees, slow support, and local rules that don't make sense. Alcor is a different kind of EOR partner. They're built for tech companies scaling across borders with deep expertise in Eastern Europe and Latin America. Alcor combines employer of record services with tech recruiting, helping you choose the right country, find and assess engineers, and onboard them in days, not months. Nearly 85% of what you pay goes straight to your engineers. Alcor's fee decreases as your team grows, and you can always bring the team in-house with zero exit fee. That's why Silicon Valley startups, including 5 unicorns, work with Alcor. Learn more at alcor.com/podcast or tap the link in the show notes. This episode is sponsored by EquityBee. Stock options can be valuable, but exercising them often means taking on real financial risk. Putting tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket with uncertainty around the outcome makes exercising a difficult decision for many startup employees. And that's where EquityBee comes in. EquityBee helps you exercise your options without using your own capital. No out-of-pocket costs. They provide non-recourse funding to cover exercise costs and taxes. There's no repayment unless the company has an exit. With EquityBee, you don't leave your equity behind. Go to codestory.co/EquityBee to learn more. See terms and conditions in the sponsors section of the episode page. That's codestory.co/EquityBee. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If your team is collecting large volumes of logs, metrics, and traces, but still struggling to get timely answers, Mesmo can help. Mesmo is an active telemetry platform that processes and enriches observability data in real time before it's stored or analyzed. That means lower data volume, lower cost, and faster root cause analysis across your existing observability tools. To see how it works, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, I was building my startup and went hunting for that perfect .com and found next to nothing. So I did what every founder does, settled. Here's what I wish someone had told me. You're building a tech startup, just get a .tech domain. It instantly tells investors and customers what you're about. Don't overthink it. Get a .tech domain for your startup today.
The first version of the product was basically me behind an email address and some automation that I had built out using tools like Airtable and Google Apps Script and Google Sheets. It was a very early, very basic tool because what I wanted to nail the customer experience. Because you can spend tons of time and money just like validating an idea, but unless it delivers value and really gives the customers what they want. And what our customers wanted was they were about to close a really large enterprise, but these due diligence forms that were just getting in the way of that deal closing with all these questions about their security, compliance, risk, and all this other posture. And these are seemingly complex questions that actually have a very straightforward answer if you just know where to look. My name is Pukar Hamal, and I'm the founder and CEO of SecurityPal AI.
This is Code Story, a podcast bringing you interviews with tech visionaries.
Spent 6 months moonlighting.
There's nothing on the back end.
Who share what it takes to change an industry.
I don't exactly know what to do
took
next.
many goes to get right.
Who built the teams that have their
A
back.
company is its people.
The teams help each other achieve
I was
more.
proud of our team.
Keeping scalability top of mind.
All that infrastructure was
Yes, we've been fighting it as we grow.
total waste of time.
The stories you don't read in the headlines.
It's not an easy thing to achieve, mind
Took it
you.
off the shelf and dusted it off and tried it again.
To ride the ups and downs of the startup life.
You need to really
It's
want it.
not just about technology.
All this and more on Code Story.
I'm your host, Noah Labhart, and today how Pukar Hamal is making your customer assurance 100 times faster enabling you to navigate the terrain with an all-in-one platform. Pukar Hamal was born in 1991 and is originally from Katmandu, Nepal. He grew up with no plumbing and no electricity prior to moving to the States to grow up in Queens. Eventually, he moved to the Bay Area to attend Stanford and fell in love with the area and the forward-thinking culture. But outside of tech, he's been married for a few years. He enjoys listening to podcasts about tech, finance, and economics, along with playing tennis every now and again. In his past venture, Pukar was on the 1-yard line from making a deal for his company. Before it could close, his team was hit with a security due diligence questionnaire that halted the process. Having that experience drove him to build something to speed up the execution and experience of customer assurance. This is the creation story of SecurityPal AI.
My path to building SecurityPal AI is perhaps like a little bit different than maybe some of the other folks. I didn't really set out to build a company. I think I always wanted to do it, but it always felt like a far-fetched dream, almost an impossibility in some ways, especially to build like a relatively successful one. I can say at least we've gotten to some level of success here at SecurityPal AI. When I was at my previous company, we were really close to closing a really large deal with a large enterprise, and it was going to change the trajectory of that company. And as we were about to go for signature and close the deal, we got hit with a really large security due diligence questionnaire. 200 pages of questions about our security posture, our security controls, compliance, all these things. And it absolutely just put the deal dead on its tracks and just crushed it and crushed a lot of the momentum that the business had. And that was really my first introduction to this idea of, hey, if you're trying to sell your product to customers, it's great if you have built a great product and it's great that they want to use it and they want to buy and they have budget. But unless you can get through this due diligence, the security due diligence, which has become oh so important today, especially because of the sensitivity around data, unless you can get through that hurdle, you're not going to close deals. And you're certainly not going to win the trust of the customer that you're going to be working with. And so that really led me down this path of just, wow, why do companies ask all these questions? What do they want to know? How are startups even supposed to comply with a lot of these onerous requirements? And so that was really the spark that forced me to double click in the space. And in March of 2020, I decided to go full time on the company because there was a friend of mine who was building a company and they were getting hit with a lot of these security questionnaires and security reviews. And I basically told him, hey, listen, just hire me as a contractor. I'll fill them out. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to figure out what the right UX was, user experience, customer experience was. And I quickly realized that the ability to turn these around really quickly and answer them in a high quality manner with a little bit of research and due diligence, you could actually greatly reduce the amount of time it takes for this company and a lot of companies to actually respond to these security questionnaires, due diligence requests during the last mile of the commercial transaction. That customer gave me the chance, ended up executing really well for them. And then we were able to quickly sell to companies like Airtable, Figma, and now we work with some of the leading brands in the world, Fortune 500s, S&P 500 companies, Global 2000 enterprises, companies like OpenAI and others as well. Started out of the corner of my apartment, literally during the onset of the pandemic. And now we have the 3 offices, one in San Francisco, one in New York. And then we have a large center of excellence, global capability center that we built out in Katmandu, Nepal, which is my birthplace. And one of the insights I had was there's just a tremendous amount of hidden talent nestled amongst the Himalayas there. And a lot of these folks are tier 1, top tier cybersecurity, ethical hackers, security consultants that work with some of the best companies, but just weren't known that well. And so being able to build a team out there and to accelerate commercial transactions for some of the best companies in the world, that's been really meaningful. And so we have a team of about almost 200 people there. We have a team of about 15, 20 people in the US. And so we continue to march forward at scale. And so, yeah, and another thing I'm really passionate about is actually I think Silicon Valley is one of the greatest things ever. It's just the ecosystem and the community that Silicon Valley has. It's so rare. It's so hard to replicate. So many places have tried. And now there's all these there's Silicon Sands in San Diego. There's Silicon Beach. And I think that's Santa Monica. There's all these different hubs that are being built out. And I wanted to establish Katmandu and at least the region against the Himalayas as Silicon Peaks, because you've got some of the highest and tallest mountains in that region, including Mount Everest. And that inspired me to actually coin the term Silicon Peaks, buy the domain siliconpeaks.com. And we're championing a lot of the talent in that region as well. And now there's 5 to 10 US publicly traded companies that actually have a global capability center there. It's right next in between Bangalore and Singapore and just a lot of the up and coming regions there. And so really excited about that.
Let's dive into what you would consider the MVP for SecurityPal AI. So that first version of the product you built, how long did it take to build and what sort of tools were you using to bring it to life?
The first version of the product was basically me behind an email address and some automation that I had built out using tools like Airtable and Google Apps Script and Google Sheets. And it was a very early, very basic tool because what I wanted to nail the UX, the customer experience. Because you can spend tons of time and money just validating an idea, but unless it delivers value and really gives the customers what they want. And what our customers wanted was they were about to close a really large enterprise. All things were lined up, but these forms, these due diligence forms, these security questionnaires, due diligence forms that were just getting in the way of that deal closing with all these questions about their security, compliance, risk, and all this other posture. And these are seemingly complex questions that actually have a very straightforward answer if you just know where to look and how to design the right answer and with the right set of policies and stuff. And so what we effectively did was it was just me in the beginning. Companies would send an email to concierge@securitypalhq.com. It would feel like automation to them, but it was just me being the ventriloquist in the back of that and just routing it, managing it on Airtable, managing it on some of the Google Sheets flows, and then routing the completed document back to the customer. And to them, it felt like magic. It was here, I send a 300 question questionnaire Excel sheet to this email, and I wake up the next day and it comes back, and that's a magical experience. And so then it just became, okay, how do we scale that? But in the beginning, I would stay up all night to do this stuff.
This episode is sponsored by Alcor. Global hiring for engineering teams can be a nightmare. Too many providers, hidden fees, slow support, and local rules that don't make sense. Alcor is a different kind of EOR partner. They're built for tech companies scaling across borders with deep expertise in Eastern Europe and Latin America. Alcor combines employer of record services with tech recruiting, helping you choose the right country, find and assess engineers, and onboard them in days, not months. Nearly 85% of what you pay goes straight to your engineers. Alcor's fee decreases as your team grows, and you can always bring the team in-house with zero exit fee. That's why Silicon Valley startups, including 5 unicorns, work with Alcor. Learn more at alcor.com/podcast or tap the link in the show notes. Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains, and this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since, especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Get a .tech domain. This episode is sponsored by BrainGrid. Building with AI coding tools is exciting until the moment things start breaking. You ask for a small change and suddenly 3 other features stop working. AI gets confused, misses edge cases, and loses track of your intent. The problem is not code generation. The problem is planning. That is why BrainGrid exists. BrainGrid acts as your product management agent. It writes clear specification, maps UX flows, asks the clarifying questions you forgot to ask, and breaks big ideas into engineering-grade tasks that AI coding tools can build reliably. It guides Cursor, Claude Code, Replit, Windsurf, and others so they deliver features that work and keep working. Founders use BrainGrid to build real AI-native SaaS products without a technical background. If you want reliable features instead of fragile prototypes, try BrainGrid for free at braingrid.ai. That's braingrid.ai. .ai. From that point, right? It was just you early on. Maybe it's not just you, but it's that solution early on. I'm curious about how you progressed it and matured it from that point. And to wrap in a box a little bit, what I'm kind of getting at is, how did you build your roadmap? How did you go about deciding that, okay, this is the next most important thing to build or to address with SecurityPal AI?
Cliche to say this now, but just first principles. The first principle number one was get revenue in the door because I was bootstrapped. I didn't have venture financing. I was using my own savings to fund this business and had to pay for rent, had to pay for food, and so had to optimize for those things. And so in the beginning, it was just a matter of figuring out, okay, how can I run this business in a way that actually generates money, generates capital that I can bring into the business, and then I'll figure out a way to hire and scale from there. And in terms of road mapping, it was really just a matter of, okay, what we need to do is we need to get revenue and we need to scale. And so the next set of things we need to figure out is, okay, I can't stay up all night for all the customers that we're closing. How do we hire another person, train them up like me to use the internal tools that we've built, and then bring another person on. That was basically what it ended up being. And then beyond that, on the sort of technical side of the roadmap, and then it just became a matter of asking customers, hey, what are you looking for? Customers wanted more transparency. They wanted an Uber-like experience for you. Like in Uber, you know exactly how far your ride is, when it's coming, details. And so our customers wanted that level of transparency when they sent the documents to us. They wanted to know the status of it, where it is, what's going on, what level of completion is it at? Is it at 50%, 40%, 80%, 90%? Now we consistently get 95, 99% completion on most of these assessments, whether quality checks are being done properly. A lot of these things, it was a matter of delivering to customers what they wanted. I think make something people want is very easy to say, but actually understanding what they want is much harder, because a lot of times users don't know what they want. If I had asked customers what they wanted in the beginning, a lot of them would have said they would want a tool to make it easy to fill it out. But really what customers wanted was they just wanted the documents to be done. And so you have to have that ability to understand what is continue to double click and figure out what is it ultimately that the customer wants transparency, so find a way to build that into the roadmap. The customer wants understanding and clarity around quality metrics and other things. They want some level of predictability as well. And so these are all things that we worked on to solve for at the very beginning.
So you're saying we, and in your description of the company, you described the team and the areas of the team. I'm curious how you built that team. What'd you look for in those people to indicate that they were the winning horses to join you?
Building a team is one of the hardest things you'll do when building a startup, because it's all a matter of fit. Building a startup, you're trying to will this idea into existence, and I don't want to compare it to war and stuff like that. Other people compare it to war, but in some ways you're trying to build a team to go to battle with, right? To somebody to fight alongside you, because you're trying to go after an underserved market. There's competition, there's big players. So you have to be willing to, you have to be willing to interview tons of people and understand folks' motivation, why they're joining, and all these other things. And so the fundamental sort of idea here for me in terms of building the team was, okay, how do I find somebody who's actually motivated by the work? Because I'm not going to be able to pay them a lot. I'm not going to be able to do much here, but I need to find somebody that's motivated by the actual work and contribution. So I ended up looking to my alma mater, Stanford, for some new grads there. Ended up looking into my network to hire our first salesperson. And then for the team that I built out in Nepal, I really went through some trusted folks to build out an initial team there. And we were able to do a pretty good job of that. And it's required lots of conversations. It required trust. It required going into the network. Referrals always make the best hires. And so that's the path that I went down to build that initial team.
Today's episode is brought to you by .tech domains. And this one hits close to home. Back in 2016, when I was building my own tech startup, I went on the hunt for that elusive .com. Looked high, looked low, and guess what I found? Nothing. What I did find cost me an arm and a leg. So I did what every founder does under pressure. Threw in extra letters, settled for the less than optimal name. And here's what I wish someone had said to me back then. Noah, you're building a tech startup. Just get a .tech domain. Tech startup, .tech domain. It could not be more obvious. It tells investors, customers, and anyone who looks at your website, really, that tech is at the core of your build. And I've kicked myself plenty since. Especially when I see the clean and sharp names tech companies have landed on .tech. Nothing.tech, 1x.tech, Aurora.tech, CES.tech, Ultra.tech, Alice.tech, Neon.tech, Blaze.tech, Pi.tech. You get the idea. So take it from someone who learned it the hard way. If you're building a tech startup, don't overthink it. Get a .tech domain. This episode is sponsored by Mesmo. If you're responsible for reliability, performance, or platform architecture, you already know the problem. Telemetry volume is growing faster than teams can manage it. Mesmo addresses this by moving observability upstream. Instead of storing everything and asking questions later, Mesmo processes telemetry in motion, filtering, transforming, and enriching logs, metrics, and traces before they reach your observability backend. The result is cleaner data, reduced ingestion costs, and faster root cause analysis using the tools you already rely on. Mesmo integrates with platforms like Datadog, Dynatrace, and open source stacks, giving teams more control without adding operational overhead. This is especially useful for platform engineers and SREs supporting complex distributed systems where context and speed matter. To see how active telemetry works in practice, get a demo at mesmo.com/codestory. That's MEZMO.com/codestory. Let's talk about scalability, right? And this is an important piece of what you're building and how you're processing this information and the types of folks you're working with. I'm curious how you approach scale in the beginning. And I know in the very beginning, scale wasn't a thing. It was more like how do we do this and prove that it works? But I'm curious about past that point, how you thought about scale, and if there's been interesting areas where you've had to fight it as you've grown.
Yeah, in some ways, we're in the middle of scaling right now. And what the challenge today is how do you scale the company without ballooning the costs, right? We are venture backed, but we're not raising any more venture capital. So we have to operate off of the cash flows that we have. And so we have these hard constraints, which I think is great. It forces a lot of creativity when you have these hard constraints. So we're trying to get really creative in regards to, how do we deliver for 3x the number of customers, 5x the number of customers, 10x the number of customers over the next 12 to 18 months? How do we do that with our existing team? And a lot of the questions we're asking is how do we decompose a lot of the steps and deconstruct them and then try to build them back up in the right way by leveraging things like AI, by using a lot of the internal tools that we have access to. And then of course, the rearranging the orgs and the talent structure within the company to effectively be able to be more aerodynamic in this environment, to move faster while also not adding tons of complexity. So those are the things that we're thinking about all day, every day. And there's no easy answers, but I think one thing that you can certainly do is if you think backwards from what is the value that you're trying to deliver to the customer fundamentally, and then how do we continue to maintain that value, and how do we deliver that value in fewer steps, and how do we remove steps? How do we embed again AI? How do we embed faster processes, more scalable processes? So those are some of the things that we're looking at.
So as you step out on the balcony, you look across all that you've built thus far. What are you most proud of with SecurityPal?
The thing that I'm most proud of is just the ability to help some of our customers scale really rapidly in really complex markets. Made me really proud to see Figma go public. Makes me really proud to see all the success that OpenAI is having. Companies like Airtable, other companies that we work with. Just when customers win, we feel like we're winning, right? I think if you can teach yourself, if the dopamine reward function for your company is fundamentally driven by your customers succeeding and their happiness, then greatly increases the chance of success. Doesn't guarantee it, but it certainly greatly increases the chance that you're doing the right things, so to speak. And for me, I'm really proud of what we've helped our customers do and the customers that we have a chance to work with. And beyond that, I'm really proud of the team that we've built and the leaders that I've had the really awesome pleasure working alongside, our GM and the leader in Nepal who runs our sort of largest operation there, our go-to-market, customer leaders, people leaders here on the US side, engineering team. We really started out as more of a services business in the beginning, and then being able to evolve that slowly and methodically into a true AI technology company with a full-fledged engineering team, engineering roadmap, and lots of cutting-edge tools that are used by some of the most advanced companies in the world. That makes me incredibly excited. And then of course, surviving multiple changes, right? Navigating the terrain of COVID as an early stage bootstrap company, and then the great SaaS crash of 2022, and then the sort of upheaval that's caused by AI today, right? We've found a way to really adapt to this changing environment and position ourselves to be maximally successful in all of these like environments. And that is something that I'm truly proud of and I'm really excited by.
Let's flip the script a little bit. Tell me about a mistake you made and how you and your team responded to it.
One thing that we've like just been so thoughtful of now is effectively like ensuring that we are bringing the right leaders in the business. I'm a huge fan of Keith Boys. Are you ammunition or are you a barrel? There's some folks that are ammunition. They can just go and execute and they're great, but what you really need to scale is you need barrels, and you need barrels that are like 100% aligned with you. And through some trial and error and hiring we've hired some folks that weren't quite like the right fit for us, right? And so being able to truly step back and put ourselves in a position where we can be incredibly thoughtful about the leaders that we bring in the business. I think for any CEO, the job of the CEO is one, make sure the company doesn't run out of money, right? Especially at a startup, right? So that's like the number one job for me. And two, make sure that we have the right leadership team to go execute the plan. Those end up being like the most important things. Obviously, having a plan, having a vision, that's important as well. But assuming that you have that, assuming you have a great vision, you have a great strategic plan, then it all becomes about having the capital and having the right team. I think we've done a great job of capital management, especially for somebody that's only raised one round of funding. Getting to a place of financial sustainability has been huge for us. But I think the biggest sort of like lessons all come from not hiring the right leader for the right role. And we've just been much more thoughtful about making sure that we have the right person in the right leadership roles today.
I'm curious about what the future looks like for SecurityPal AI. So for the product, for the company, what you see in the industry, tell me about all the things.
The way that the world is evolving, right? The way that we see the future in SecurityPal is what we really see is we're in the middle of a pretty epic tug of war between nation states and companies. Nation states are fairly new, right? It was not too long ago that the concept of a country actually became like a thing, right? It was the Treaty of Westphalia in 1648 that actually established what the modern definition of a country is, maybe 500 years, right? That this has really been around. And companies have become incredibly powerful, right? Companies today are trillion-dollar behemoths, global enterprises, and the Mag 7, Mag 9, these top 10 companies, they're more powerful than most of the countries around the world. And part of the reason why they've become so powerful is because historically, it was countries and nation states that actually were stewards of data and stewards of information. But with the internet, more and more information and data is actually routed through companies and through private enterprise. What's happening today is you basically have this epic tug of war where companies are the stewards of data, and so thus they have great leverage in the game, but countries want to reassert dominance, right, in that relationship. And so they're trying to effectively create rules and regulations to take back control, wrestle back control. And that has ended up in the manifestation and creation of all of these really complex cybersecurity and data laws that control like where data is stored, where data is kept, how it's processed, how it's shared back and forth, how it's transported from one place to another. You know, there's a GDPR in Europe. There's lots of like different rules and regulations across the different states that we have in the US. Many countries have their own jurisdictions and as well, and data regulations. There's actually 160 jurisdictions, countries that are building their own data protection, data privacy laws. And this is really an attempt of the nation state to reassert control against companies. But what that effectively means is it obviously creates an enormous barrier for commercial transactions, right? And for every commercial transaction today, data is definitely at stake, right? You're using the internet, you're transferring data back and forth. And that creates these onerous requirements that companies have to comply with. And companies are required to assess their vendors, to assess anybody that they partner with, you know, because they're obligated by laws, rules, regulations. And then companies must comply with all these like laws, rules, and regulations. There is this entire sort of what we call like a global assurance super cycle that we're living in the midst of. And nobody's talking about it, right? Everyone talks about software eating the world. Obviously, AI is accelerating it. But there's this hidden trend, which is just like there are more speed bumps and points of friction during the commercial transaction today than ever before. More things to respond to, more evidence to prove out, more things to comply with. And that this sort of urgency and for assurance, really, to assure customers that their data is in safe hands, to assure governments that they're good stewards of data. And then, of course, to make sure that you do a good job of assessing the vendors and partners that you're bringing on. this assurance work it really goes way beyond just like the questionnaires that we started out doing. So in terms of the future roadmap, it's like, how do we become the assurance management platform? It's not just about security questionnaires, right? It's not just about filling out these forms when you're selling a deal. It's also about the flip side, which is like, how do we help companies assess vendors really quickly? It's also about trust center management. It's also about audits and new regulations that are coming out in all these different jurisdictions. So helping companies navigate each and every step along the way definitely creates just a tremendous amount of like surface area for us to go and attack. And so we think there's just going to be so much demand for our services, and we're seeing it proven out by the accelerated growth that we're experiencing over the past year as we head into 2026. And so I'm just like really thrilled about the prospect of just of being in the space. And we think it's so critical because fundamentally we don't want commercial transactions to slow down, because we believe that the more commercial transactions, the faster the commercial transactions, the more innovation there is, because companies can try different tools, different products. People can innovate. People can iterate much faster. The technology is all about like, how quickly do you run into an insight and then execute against that insight? And the slower the commercial transaction, it just slows down the amount of insights that you can generate. It slows down the amount of activity in the system, right? It's almost like lowering the temperature on just like on all this energy in the ecosystem. And what we want to do is we want to maintain that momentum. And we really want to be the company that becomes that sort of accelerant to re-accelerate commercial transactions. And so we like to say we're on a mission to accelerate GDP growth by helping organizations deliver greater security assurance, and through superior security assurance. That's our fundamental mission as a company, right? To accelerate GDP growth by solving complex security assurance challenges for both buyers and sellers. And so we're very passionate about that.
Let's switch to you, Pukar. Who influences the way that you work? Name a person or many persons or something you look up to, and why?
I'm deeply influenced by leaders like Jeff Bezos, Warren Buffett, Elon Musk. I'm influenced by some of my mentors, right? This is incredible entrepreneur, Iman Abuzaid from Incredible Health, who's a huge inspiration to me. It's a unicorn healthcare company. And I'm also just influenced by a lot of leaders that have just struggled for a long period of time to will like their version of the world into existence, like folks like Nelson Mandela and others that have just, and I've seen myself in some ways, like, hey, like we're trying to will this into existence in many ways. The reality is, unless we can find a way to re-accelerate commercial transactions, we're not going to have we're not going to witness the incredible progress that we witnessed over the last century. And we really see it as one of our core responsibilities to help our companies, the companies that we work with, to be able to do that much faster. And then of course, I'm really inspired by the entrepreneurs that I get to meet and collaborate with in Silicon Peaks and Katmandu. In many ways, they have way fewer resources than what I'm fortunate to have in Silicon Valley, building this type of team and company. And so to watch founders and entrepreneurs in that ecosystem build meaningful businesses with far fewer resources, is always inspiring.
Last question, Pukar. So you're getting on a plane and you're sitting next to a young entrepreneur who's built the next big thing. They're jazzed about it. They can't wait to show it off to the world. And can't we show it off to you right there on the plane? What advice do you give that person, having gone down this road a bit?
There's no such thing as being too close to the customer. Like, how close of a relationship can you build with a customer? There's no such thing as being too close. Keep driving yourself closer to your customers and really trying to understand what are they trying to accomplish and what are they trying to do, and observing them and researching them and their needs and trying to deeply understand like what is the end goal that they're driving towards. Listening isn't just about what they're saying. Listening is truly about understanding what they're trying to drive towards. What is the ultimate goal that they're trying to drive towards? It's just almost maniacal customer obsession would be like my biggest. It would be the first thing I would share. The second thing is, it's not about the technology. It's not about any of that. The fundamental thing to get right is team. If you have incredible customer obsession and if you have the right team, I think you can accomplish anything in B2B.
I think that's fantastic advice, staying close to the customer. Well, Pukar, thank you for being on the show today, and thank you for telling the creation story of SecurityPal AI.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
And this concludes another chapter of Code Story. Code Story is hosted and produced by Noah Labhart. Be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the podcasting app of your choice. And when you get a chance, leave us a review. Both things help us out tremendously. And thanks again for listening.
What does leadership really look like? On The Power of Advice, a new podcast series from Capital Group, you'll hear from athletes, entrepreneurs, and executives who've led on the field, in the boardroom, and in their communities. It's not about titles. It's about impact. Discover what drives them and the advice they carry forward. Subscribe and start listening today. Published by Capital Client Group, Inc.
Switching between different tools to finish a project can feel stressful and disjointed, especially while juggling tight deadlines in a fast-paced work environment. Now, there's a better way. Grammarly built a writing service that's a game changer for professionals. It helps move your ideas forward and sharpen your words for better results, all in one place. With Grammarly's AI agents, you get writing support at every step to bring polish and impact to your emails, reports, and proposals without the tab overload. Email sounds robotic? Phrasing feels off? Writing for a high-stakes client? Grammarly's got you covered. You can even ask Grammarly's AI chat to help brainstorm brilliant proposals, summarize meeting notes in seconds, or even shape a winning sales strategy, all right from your dock. 93% of professionals say that Grammarly helps them get more done. Now, it's your turn. Sign up for free and get stronger results. Faster work, smarter sentences, clearer finishes. Visit Grammarly.com to get started. That's Grammarly.com.